Now I've got a textbook in the process of being written, and I'm using mainly Pages, and that's what we'll mainly be discussing tonight.
Andrew, just a quick question. You might want to adjust your computer screen, I think, just a little bit through.
Yeah, I think it's.
The side.
I have got it on 1280 by.
800, that should be right.
Yeah.
It's like the projector has not picked up the resolution correctly or something. It's just, or it's overcompensating. Let's try. Oh, your one might, I know. Scale in your system preferences, can you go into displays?
No, the scheme is.
And the underscan setting on the Epson projector. Underscan near the bottom. See, it's got the underscan off.
Oops, sorry.
You had that setting right, so just go back to what it was. Go back to scale again and choose 1280 by 800. And then near the bottom it's got an underscan scroll bar, sliding bar. So what you need to do is look at the projector screen and drag that to the right until it fits. About there. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Cool. Very good. Yeah.
Okie do. Right. As I was saying, I've got Pages set up for the current set of pages for a textbook which I've got in the works. Now this textbook is all my research, and I'm collating that all in parts. And this is an old template which I've got here for holographic maths, the main textbook. And what I do is I've just got the introductory headings and that set out in the chapters. But what I'm going to use is an individual file for the individual chapters, which is on the current template. This is an example. Chapter, carbon chemistry. So here we've got the heading and the subheading, and that's quite straightforward. It just links in straight here. You've got your heading, which you have over here, and you just type it in and go for it. Okay, so what I've been doing on my chemistry theory is working out a mathematical efficiency, which is plain English. All graphs that can be drawn or sculpted can represent a chemical molecule. And what that means is that if you can draw something in 2D or 3D, that can represent a chemical. And from there, you can work into a new type of mathematics from last century called matroids, which shows the relationships between individual atoms, and you calculate those, and that leads to an easier way of doing it than through vector-based graphs. So I can do most of these calculations on either a Casio calculator or a MacBook Air, or the 2018 MacBook Pro if I ever get around to it, and not need a top 500 supercomputer. Now this is quite a good thing, because I'm no longer at university. I don't have access to the Vic Uni top 500 supercomputer. So it's quite interesting, and there is some possibility that it might be useful for a more in-depth investigation into a field called the Riemann hypothesis, which is the last and hardest unsolved problem of the millennial problem in maths, which is a $1 million prize series that they had 7 of it and offered it in the year 2000. I might have to offload that to one of the university lecturers up at Victoria University, but that's fine. As you can see on the second page of the chapter, It's got this heading 2, structure. There's a nice stock photo. Doesn't really mean much to me, but yeah, and it's just a brief description, which is simple. The organisation of chemicals has been determined to be represented by matroids, a field which one of the local university lecturers is a global leader in research, and he's been doing quite a bit of research over the last 25 years or so up at Vic Uni, and my research doesn't quite come into his field, but it's related to it, and that's where it goes in towards my main textbook, holographic matrices, and then there's the new one for holographic matroids, which is sort of an iteration beyond holographic matrices. So the gist of it is, through the use of holographic matroids, you can represent chemical molecules precisely in 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions, calculate the relationships, and then you can downgrade that to a matrix. So through that, you can do these calculations on something as simple as your cell phone or a $30 Casio calculator. And that is compared to a $40 million supercomputer, which still hasn't done 1,000th as much as what I've done in the last 10 years. And that is quite unheard of, as far as I've been able to tell.
So you're producing each of these chapters as separate documents to start with for your book?
Yeah. You can also do this the same process for Scrivener. However, Scrivener has got one major fault, and that it doesn't work well with maths. It works well for just about every other type of formal writing, whether it's script writing, plays, poetry, American psychology, grade essays, or all the other humanities type work, but it doesn't work well on scientific notation for maths. Yeah, Pages does. It recently gained support for maths markup language in, I think, 3 months ago. Yeah. So what I'll be doing is I'll be expanding out this example chapter into a more detailed document, and then just drag and drop it into the master document, and just repeat the process for 51 chapters. Does anyone have any questions about?
How many pages do you think you can sensibly put in one document
I would think somewhere around about the 1,000-page mark. I know that Scrivener can definitely handle somewhere around about 2,000. In fact, I'm not entirely sure if there's any actual limit on Scrivener. It is cross-platform. It tends to be more one that you put together your first draft of a writing. I'll bring it up actually. Scrivener, this is just the tutorial. You've got your main layout here. You've got your binder here, and you go to your folders, and you can write on these little cue cards. So you've got your synopsis ready. So you cue yourself up for what you want to write in a chapter. And down the bottom, you can add in you can add in your research. So you've got your sheets, you've got pictures, you've got information, you've got a movie, all that sort of thing. And so for say like a screenplay, you can have a character screenplay, keep track of everything on a fictional book, the relationships, or even a non-fictional book if it's a historical book. And then you've got locations, you can build up all that sort of thing. And I believe it's one of the few word creation tools that they use in Hollywood, just because it's works on all platforms.
It's set up specifically for it.
And it's set up specifically for it, yeah.
Those little boxes, Andrew, are they like separate files and the way of these cards? I mean,
Yeah, it's
are we looking at like?
it's actually every Scrivener project is a little compressed database with an entire little file system within that project. So it's actually a zip file that you can just send across. I think the new version 3, has got Dropbox built in, just because it's not Mac only. It also works with Windows, and so they let you just drop straight into Dropbox, send it off to your colleagues. Yeah, but it's quite good. But yeah, the only technical limitations is the only reason that I haven't really gone into it as much. I've been waiting for it to come out on the new version, to come out with the maths workings, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen until version 4, which might not be for another 3 years.
What about things that apply to all the files, like an index, or the thing kind of making sure you've got all your references and all that, like equivalent of equal. So there are things that will be separate in each chapter, and things where it's like the whole work needs to be analysed.
Yeah, well, for that you'd use the corkboard here for your synopsis. You just put in your research, and then you'd say this file down in your research folder has got that for that chapter, and that would be how you would do citations and stuff. But most of my research is, with the exception of one part of the chemistry research, it's almost all entirely built on top of my research references itself. So there's less need for citations, because I know I've got it from this thing links to this thing within the textbook. So I only need to link the chapters. I don't need to cite so many different authors, because there's probably only going to be about 5% which you're actually going to need citations to external authors. Yeah.
Going back to pages, what mode and started to do that, and is that page layout or is it word process?
Well, you've got the templates, and I skip the research thing and I go straight to books. I prefer the textbook, but you can use the basic one or even the novel. Portrait has it's the best one. It's the best one for EPUBs. So say for example, if I obtain funding and I say, okay, this is going to be a free EPUB and it's going to be at cost for a textbook, for a printed book, then I would stick it all on Portrait and keep it like that. If I was doing something where I wanted to have it on dual page mode, I'd keep it in landscape, and that's more for if I wanted to have it sort of like a newsletter style. I'd choose the landscape mode.
So those templates going to be textbook and basic, are they actually page layout templates or are they word processing templates?
As far as I can tell, they're page laying out. As far as I can tell, they don't.
Multiple pages across, 2 pages across?
Yeah, you can. I've only managed to get the 2-page across activated on one letter since upgrading to pages 7.
The reason why I'm asking is, as you know, we've been using pages for newsletter phrases for Capital Apple.
Yeah,
And if you look at the latest Capital Apple,
Yeah.
the thing there about linking text boxes,
yeah,
because that's been the thing that stopped us. But it's now no longer stopping us.
yeah. I think they put that in about the start of the year. They put in the linking text boxes.
So now what I'm thinking about is, do we change to this new version for Capital Apple? And so that's what I'm asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I typically most of my writing in pages is writing letters up. Even if it's just discard later, I just write up a letter in my standard template. I've got 2 of them right down the bottom, and bingo, you've got your letter set up with your signature.
Word processing from Word, though.
Yeah, that would be a word processing, but page.
I need to talk to David about this at some time.
Yeah. To answer that question, that particular textbook one is a word processor template. It shows the convert to page layouts command and file menu. So that's that particular one is word processor.
Oh right, yes, it is.
I'm not sure how you're supposed to tell.
How do you tell? Because in the old version you had 2 different modes, but this one is different.
I imagine all the flyers and posters will be page layout.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't actually say on pages 7 which ones are page layouts and which ones are word processing, which is odd to say the least.
And the confusion to newsletters are word processing, not page layout. So I'm not sure how you're supposed to tell.
Because at some point, David, we're going to have to change.
Yeah.
That happens all the time.
That was forced into the bonds, we're going to have much choice.
Yeah.
But now that text box linking's come in, and they say it's better than the old system.
Yeah, the only thing I'm aware of with pages 7, whatever it is, the latest version of the text box, is you can't link backwards reliably. You can't start at the end of the document and go backwards to an earlier point, but I don't imagine you want to do that very often, so it probably doesn't matter.
The only thing we need to do is actually link on a page beyond.
Yeah, skip page is the most common. And so I saw you use that feature in the last issue.
That's the case I haven't.
Yeah.
Brent's also interested in pages, obviously, for book layout and page layout. So I'm just thinking, is it time for us to start looking at changing?
That's how you link the text boxes, isn't it? Just set up a 1-2 on the top of them. Yeah.
Or just copy and paste that type to into text a number of times. Copy it, just keep pasting, we'll soon find out. Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
What's the primary reason to have all these text boxes?
It's the format for the magazine.
Precise layout control is the main reason.
If you think of a newspaper, why the newspaper's laid out columns, and photographs,
That's right.
that's how you do it. It's the only way you can do it. You can't do it in word processing. Well, you can, but
Right, so you can start off with bits and pieces and put them all together. Right.
You can actually do it with word processing as long as your layout is simple enough. If it's consecutive pages and you've got sort of text flowing from page 8, page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to page 4 with inserted images, that's fine. It's where you want to have article which starts on page 3 and has the last bit of on page 7. You cannot do that unless you
it's
have
really the latest.
Well, with the news page, you suddenly decide to make a change to page 1.
Yeah.
Well, in one article, I ran out of space to finish the article. It was only half a page. So I banged the last one on the last page. Right, and I put a note on here, continued on page 7. And And so you jump to page 7 and lose the rest of the article. And if you look at magazines and things like that all the time, I don't think newspapers do, but magazines do.
Well, the Dominions don't at the moment. There's always a front page story and it continues on page 2.
Yeah, because they've shrunk all the weekday Dominions down into tabloid.
2 stories on the front of it that have links to
Page 2 and 3.
Yeah. The thing is, up until recently, you had to have a program like PageMaker in the old days and then design to be able to do that sort of thing. And I think you find that the Dominion uses in design. Pretty sure that's what they use now.
I think that's correct. I know. My family friend Hayden. He's the electrician who's responsible for getting it printed. He stays up all night to make sure that the machine doesn't fail out at Petone.
Well, that's the reason why if you subscribe, like the girl who came in and told us about license, you can subscribe to the Dominion, and the moment the Dominion's printed, you can also get the offline version of it as well, because the whole thing's done electronically, and you can just produce it at the same time virtually. And so the program they'll use, I think, is InDesign, which is an Australian program. They used to use PageMaker in the early days, but I think that's what's doing design. And it's designed for doing that sort of thing. But David and I used to use InDesign and PageMaker when we were doing the Capital Apple. And then I suddenly thought, you know, Pages can do this, why don't we try Pages?
But they've now got it available at the petrol stations from midnight.
So, to answer one of Brent's questions, it was about graphics and things. Pages is actually really, really good for doing just basic graphics. And you can also, Pages have got one nice little thing, is you can actually go onto a photograph, and I don't know if you've got into this, not Andrew, but you can actually do all sorts of fiddling with the photographs in terms of masking bits out. What they call it,
It's just the thing you showed us, which I've used repeatedly since
you
then.
can get rid of sky and all sorts
Yeah,
of
you
colours.
basically click on a colour on it, it deletes everything around the edge, which is that colour. What's it called?
Oh, was that the one that you showed the other year? The how to paint in Pages.
It's in the news.
What's it called? Yeah, you use the feature with it.
I was watching a tutorial on YouTube about it today.
I've got a good, I don't know if I made a link, I think, in that Pages and Words, that I actually did find a guy who was doing an hour-long tutorial on how to use Pages, and it was pretty good.
What's the relationship between Pages and Scrivener? Is it either or can you dump stuff from Pages into Scrivener?
You can dump stuff into Pages, from Pages into Scrivener, although Scrivener tends to say, would like to see things in markup language. So, for some obscure reason, it's actually easier to have things in, say, a cheap program called Markup ML, I think it is, that does basic markup like a subset of HTML5, and drop it straight from that program into Scrivener. Why it doesn't like Pages directly, I don't know, but you can just have things just copied straight as text. But it doesn't seem to play nicely with Pages all the time.
I don't go on Pages in that program. It's not available on PCs. And it is very, if you're on Mac, not a problem. If you're working with other people on Mac, you can share stuff across. But if you've got a PC, not so easy, but it's not impossible. And I think David brought this up last meeting when he talked about iCloud. The fact is you can actually load up Pages on iCloud. This is a version on iCloud, and it's not, you can do that on PC because it's based on a browser. So some of the PC can actually load up Pages files.
Yes, there was an online version of Pages which you can use from Windows. Just to answer the general, I have a copy of Scrivener 3 which I bought but haven't used.
Right.
It has, if you have been using Scrivener to construct a writing project, its final step to produce an end product to be given to somebody else is called compile.
Yep.
And in the compile command, the formats it offers in the version I've got in front of me include PDF, or print PDF, rich text with attachments, Microsoft Word, older Microsoft Word, docx or doc, open office files, plain text, a web page is HTML. Final draft, if you use the final draft application, it's got a .dx file. A fountain screenplay, whatever that is. EPUB 3 book, an EPUB 2 book. A Kindle KFA or Mobi ebook, a Kindle Mobi ebook. Multi-markdown to LaTeX, which is a .tex file, which is used in some scientific publications and things like that. Multi-markdown used going to OpenOffice, which is ODT. Multi-markdown a web page and flat XML. So it can't directly export to pages, but it can export in file formats the pages can import. So you can go from Scrivener, produce something and load it into pages and do some final cleaning up with.
I've only got Scrivener 2, so that was listed as plain Scrivener in the Mac App Store. So when it went to Scrivener 3, they've got it so you've only got that version.
I think I bought it as part of a software bundle at some point, and then I upgraded it to version 2.5 and upgraded it to version 3. I've got a non-App Store version of it, but
This is another matter of interest. The only problem with pages when it comes to producing the books is that there's two aspects of it that cause problems. The first one is that you cannot print to the edge. You can't trim the photograph right up to the edge of the page. It has to be inset. Because your printer can't print right to the edge. So if you use it in design, they have a facility that actually can use what they call SRA4 or SRA3, which is actually slightly bigger than A4. And you bleed the photograph out beyond the edge. So when they print it, they actually go with a guillotine and chop it.
Right.
You make it look like it has trim marks on the corners of the chop it, and you get the print right up to the edge. You can't forget the pages.
Yeah, Pages books aimed to be e-books like EPUB.
So you can't, you always end up with white space down with the pages. That's not a big deal. But if you wanted to have like a multi-page screen, the photograph that you send the page covering both things right to the edges, you cannot do that in pages. Right? The second thing with pages is that when you print a book, when you print books, you print 1, 2, 3, 4. If you take a book apart and look at page 1, and say it's a 16-page book, but the other side of page 1 is page 16. And page 2 is page, also it's page 50. And there's a way you've got to along with pages up. And you cannot do that through different pages. What you can do is you produce a PDF, and there is software that lets you take a PDF file from pages, and it will actually repaginate it so you get the numbers in the right order. So when it goes to a printer, they print it out, so it's an A5 book, it's printed on A4. All your pages are okay. When you stick them all together and fold it in half and staple it, the pages come out right. Now, we used to have to do that with our earlier magazines when we were printing small magazines and our multiple pages. They had to be set up because they were being printed off the printer initially, and they had to be done right. That's why I used to
design on page mapping.
They just do it straight out. But then with this software, you can do that from a PDF. You can't print the pages, but you can create people who can. So those are the only two limitations. Other than that, pages is everything that comes in the one. You've got the ability to adjust reading, pruning, what those things are. That's all.
There's a new desktop publishing application in the works called Affinity Publisher. I've got Affinity Designer, which is a great replacement for Adobe Illustrator.
Oh, them, yes.
And anyway, they're getting Affinity Publisher into beta testing this month. Actually, according to the newsletter I got today. So.
And it's Affinity Publisher was the first one that was Designer and Publisher. Some people regard them as being almost as good as Photoshop in design.
What are we doing wrong with that?
No, so I don't know anybody who actually uses it for anything.
Why don't we do on Photoshop?
Yeah, but it's a one-off purchase which costs $60 or something like that. And so it's a program which is nearly as powerful as most of what we do in Photoshop or something.
Well, I'm happy to do a demo on that some stuff because I use it all the time. Affinity design,
Yeah, both of those Affinity programs have been featured on the best apps of the year in the Mac App Store.
They are really good, really economical.
Yeah.
And the reason I bought Affinity Design is because I was using Adobe Free, I was using Nick with a freehand. When Adobe bought it out, they killed it. So I killed Adobe at this stage, I've never had used anything on Adobe ever since. And I found Affinity and opened up all my PM files, going back years.
See how I get this on the...
I can't find everything now because it's PowerPC application.
Right back.
Yes, but which ones? All your Adobe files? Which ones did Affinity open? Was it all your Adobe files?
I got rid of all my, everything that I can do, Affinity Adobe.
No, but you've got Infinity and Adobe what?
Well, Affinity Designer replaces Adobe Illustrator. Okay, Affinity Photo replaces effectively Adobe Photoshop. It works slightly differently, it's very similar to specs, does everything that Photoshop can do. By and large, there's not out of accounting. And they've been talking for quite some time about when the pays about probably now tonight. It's about to go into beta, so that's going to be pretty damn popular. It's going to take a big dent, I think, in
And I suspect that after that, they've also come out with iPad versions, and some of them are wrong way. There's a design.
It's an iPad version of Photo, I think, yeah.
And design it now as well. But the one that's on their to-do list, I think, is the asset management. So it's the equivalent of Lightroom or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But that's some way off, I would expect. That would eventually go out. Another alternative to photos or that sort of thing.
But they're a fraction of the price of Adobe, and you don't have to sign up for a monthly subscription.
Yeah. You pay $50 a month.
Yeah.
One of the bit nuts and got it, and it's yours forever.
So, Andrew, those text boxes that you show, is that the way you write in your book with text boxes?
No, that's the way that we've been talking about for the newsletter. The actual
Oh, I see, yeah.
newsletter.
Yep.
You've got, say for example, the back page,
Yeah.
right? We've got the adverts and we've got this. We can have those set up as text boxes, but usually the tidbits, that's just a text box.
So how do you make sure that the margins align with what you set up for the bulk of the items?
Usually a bit of manual fiddling to make it look right.
No magic lines suddenly appear.
There are guidelines that appear as you drag them through.
Yeah.
The other thing, when he's talking about the tidbits for the back, there's a colour thing on it. You can actually just draw a square box and put your text on top. And you can adjust the opacity of the background so it shows up with blue and change the colour.
And incidentally,
behind things, you can...
That's a trick I often use with Capital Apple when we're printing pictures in the magazine. If Graham has chosen a picture to put in the magazine that has an awful lot of black in it, it's going to chew through vast amounts of toner whenever anybody prints it. So I have an interesting trick. I reduce its opacity to 50%, which cuts the amount of toner in half.
Goody.
That's kind of.
Yes, and it also reduces the file size sometimes a little bit.
If I get something like that, I took it to the Photoshop and then I reversed the thing. So
Yes.
instead of the
Well,
white text on black,
Yeah.
it's black text on
Yeah,
white.
no, so I'm being consciously aware of that because we have to print them and we know, oh my God, how much black is that just used?
Very
Any other questions?
Lots.
David, you had earlier on, it showed headers, a header 1, header 2.
Oh right, that's on the format. So just click on that.
Alright.
So header one is the main part of the chapter, and then it goes to header 2 for the second page in within the chapter. And you can just change that if you like. But
If you wanted to put a text box in and you want a heading in it, can you just click on header 2 or header 3 or whatever?
yep, you can just do that because you just change the style, and that's just there. Simple as that.
You can pick the styles, but you can also you can adjust what they look like in one place, and they change everywhere. The big advantage of using those styles is that they allow you to consistently format your document, so that if you decide, I don't actually want to use Helvetica 28-point bold, and this one rather than be 26-point bold, you change it from one place and it affects the entire document automatically.
What about paragraph style, flush or step?
Yep, you can just
Can you change that?
set that around on alignment. Yeah, because they've put that off to the format off to the side. So it does make sense if you've got a decent resolution MacBook or MacBook Pro. I mean, you can have it so you've got most of it on half of it or so, and then you have on your 1/3 you have your format, and then you can document, just change things around there. But if you're confident with the style that you've already got, and you just say, okay, we don't need to change around the format, you just go get rid of that, and you've got a bit wider, and you can go to double page. Yeah.
Just to give you a bit of an idea on it as well, when we do capital Apple, right, we've already set up a type style and type spacing, it's Palatino 10 points, I think. And so we've got a consistent thing through the whole magazine. I always take last month's magazine and I delete all the text out, we just go select all, delete, and we've still got all the text boxes there, and they're all still linked. And the moment you start typing in them, or if you paste into them, like using Command-Shift-D, which will Command-Shift option,
Yeah, paste and match style is the magic command.
Yeah, it'll actually paste whatever you've taken, if you copy from Zipfile or from somewhere, paste it and it puts it into that same typeface. And so because I used last month's one, and the problem we've had just recently was that David changed, I don't know if everybody noticed this by the way, but if you look at the adverts on the back page, there's a different one there. Yeah. It's David's partner, Suzanne's advert. So take a look.
As an experimental basis, we're basically giving them a 3-month free advertisement and see if it gets any takers. If not, we'll go back to the other one.
So anyway, I basically do most of the magazine, and then I send it to David and he puts his part in. And so I never had any copies of the magazine in pages format with David's advert on. So I had to send him an email the other day and say, can you please send me a copy back with your advert on, because I didn't have that. So when I do the next month, I've now got a template to work on. So it's effectively a template. So if you want to, and you're making a book or something, you can actually set up a page, right? And then you save it as a template. It is keep find the template. It's up under.
Oh yeah, so I've currently got it set up so that it goes to the template chooser.
No, but how do you save it as a template?
Under the file.
Oh, save it as a template. So we want to save this one as a template. Yeah, save as template right underneath set password.
If you click on that, it'll come and give you some options.
Add to template chooser, save or cancel. So if you click on save, you can select where you save it. Say you want to put it on an icon.
It puts it into the right folder so that you get it down to the templates and it's just sitting there. And you set up one page, and when you create a new page, it'll be exactly the same as the one you just set up. Right. So the template will remain all the way.
You just got to copy and drag and drop with it.
Pardon?
You copy, drag and drop.
Well, once you've got a template set up with the font that you want to use, and all the other bits and pieces, once you've got that set up, you can create new pages. And somewhere near, where's the new page?
I'm just going to drop it onto the desktop.
The thing is,
so
if you set up a new page, it's slightly different than WordPress as a page layout, but you set up a new page, and it will have all those same characteristics of the page you just built. I think you can do Command-D as well, so a new page going.
So for example, I'd say the template is a WelMac letter which has letterhead on it already, that sort of thing.
Yes.
There's another option on there you might like to show, if you go to the very heart, on the left-hand side, it's got view.
View.
On the toolbar?
Underneath the green, the red button, underneath the green button.
Underneath the green button.
Right, hard left.
Hard left. All right, yeah, here we go.
Okay, go and show thumbnails.
Okay, so show page thumbnails.
Okay, so now you can duplicate those. So you can actually have multiple different pages you can set up as a whatever, and you can just duplicate them, and it'll recreate all that template stuff you've got. Now the other thing too that Andrew hasn't mentioned yet, and I'm sure when he goes to his book he'll be doing this, and that is you can actually set up an index on the front of your book and you can link it to the pages, and it automatically does it for you.
It's automatically sorted in the page in the book templates, so it does that straight from the headers. So what you've got with the heading, that's the one that I use for the chapters.
It comes up on
But that comes up when it comes up on when you go to the page of contents. It's already got click on page 3. Click on page 3. There you go. It goes straight to page 3.
If you make a PDF of
Is
it,
that like a hyperlink or something?
It's a hyperlink, and it'll work in a PDF or in an EPUB.
so if you've got a PDF and you just, if it's on your computer, you just click on it and it shows a little hand, or something, whatever it is, and you just click on it, it'll take you straight to that place. And that's all created automatically for you. As Andrew just said, when you use one of those book templates, it's already there. It makes making a book very easy. If you start doing insets and, you know, what do you call it?
Page inserts.
No, when you have text numbering, it actually takes into account all that as well.
Yeah, and it automatic.
So how to do that?
Footnotes, you mean?
Oh, right. Footnotes. Okay. So
Footnotes are sharp as well.
Yeah, bullets.
bullets.
Bullets, you said.
Okay, so a bullet we just go option 8, or we can
If
go.
you just go option and then go tab, I'll just do it. And then hit tab and start typing. And press return. It should automatically come up and know for that. It says
It hasn't done that.
it's automatically know that you want bullets, so we do it. But you can also go on the right hand side onto the thing and actually set up the menu as well.
I think. You
Bullets
have
and
to,
text down the bottom.
oh, right, bullets on the list. Right, here we go.
So it tells you all these all sorts of different bullets. So Pages is actually a very, very powerful program.
Oh yeah, I manually edited it in, but there's you've got that off to the.
Well, you just type, go down to the next line from here, go down the bottom of somewhere. Go down below that.
Yep.
Return.
Oops.
Hit return down. Right. I want you to delete all that. Push number 1. Push number 1 and then tab. And then, then type something. Anything. Just, no, after number 1. Don't do that.
Okay.
Check it. Do it, but do it.
Yep.
Don't type 1, full stop, and then space, a tab. Type.
Yep.
Type anything, no, and hit type. Yeah, press return. It should automatically actually on.
No, I think-
Come on number 2.
I think it's set to only do.
You shouldn't have to go down there to do it, so do it automatically.
Yeah, you might have
Full
to
stop, tab.
put it in a script with this one.
Anyway, it's actually quite smart. But sometimes it's too damn smart.
Well, that was right.
Turn it off. It starts predicting what they think she wants to do.
There is of course on the new touch bar Macs you've got automatic predictive typing, so when you're in the body of your text you can predictively type something up.
One of the things I hate when you're doing like on Facebook is you make a writing mistake and it actually puts a lot of things you want there, you don't have that in check.
But the main advantage
Words that aren't actually words you want.
the main advantage with the touch bar ones is you've got the you can easily format them using the touch bar, so you can just format the document and just slide it across and yeah they're good at the demos in the stores.
Predicted text will be bad for us.
Oh yeah.
Listen, Pages is a really good program. And basically, I'm sure, well, I think it's a whole bit of Microsoft Word, because Microsoft Word can't do page layout. The Pages can.
So does Scrivener give similar page layout properties to Pages? Does it sort of wrap around text with photos?
Yeah, it's got most of what Pages has, and it's got some things which Pages doesn't. And that's basically the things which Pages doesn't is it doesn't have the sort of corkboard where you can lay out your synopsis for the chapters and that sort of thing, and for the pages. If we just go back to Scrivener, so you've got your corkboard where you just put through your synopsis and you just say, okay, these are the things that I want to cover in this little chapter or sub-chapter, and you're basically keeping notes on what you want to write. Yeah. So
It's good for planning.
yeah, it's brilliant for planning. I'm aware that there's quite a few authors who do use this program, but until it gets maths,
We're talking about script writing.
hey?
We're talking about script writing.
Yep.
There's actually a program designed specifically for script writing, which I use called Celtics, CELTX. And that basically indexes text and puts stuff in capital, so that if you want a script that you want to make a play out of or a movie out of, it will immediately lays things out. It's got, if you want to have just notes about how you want to set up the scenery and stuff or whatever, it's all done the way it should be done. But basically Hollywood people are used to seeing.
So the
It's program called Celtics.
yeah. So the old Scrivener 2 has got 7 templates for script writing. BBC Radio screen style, BBC tapes, drama, comic script, documentary script, screenplay, stage play UK, and an undergraduate humanities essay.
The advantage of Celtics is it goes beyond just script writing, the text. And also
Yeah.
you can put in the actors, and you can put in all the directors and all sorts of other things. And you can, it does the whole screen writing sort of thing.
Okay, so if we just go create that, and if we go after screenplay, so you can prop in your scenes. We've only got one scene here, but if we just go add character sketch, bing.
You're on the internet there.
Yep.
Go on, have a look at type in Celtics, CLTX. CEL. TX, not TX, just TX.
Ah, cells. Okay.
It's pretty, which makes it very expensive.
We're knocking out Scrivener's sort of page layout and sort of stuff. It's not intended to work that way. It's expected that you will basically do free-form writing, just giving that information to structure your document correctly, and at the point you compile it and output something, you actually specify what styles you want written and with the layout forward at that point. So it sort of automates the entire process and it doesn't expect you to be using it for the detailed page layout.
That's no good for doing what you're talking about, making a book and it's not.
No. This is more a specific thing. Is this
Structured, well-structured document that will have a
so?
sort of places that it will automate the layout.
All planning tools are free for your first 7 days. Oh, okay.
It's free totally to eventually start charging.
Yeah.
So they got smart and now they can make money out of it.
Yeah. So it's a monthly bill and.
Well, it's based off the internet now, it's online.
Oh right.
Whereas the version I've got is actually an application.
So you save a little bit if you get billed annually, but yeah.
You can get it free for a trial.
Yeah. It's free for the first 7 days. Celtics.
What about Scrivener?
Scrivener is currently the current version, which you can get off the App Store. If we just go here,
I'll have to have a look at
Scrivener free. Still $67, and you get a cent back change.
What about upgrades? Are they 7 or okay?
Sorry?
What about upgrades? Are they become like start again with the price or are they
Well, for
less?
the App Store layout, they will be, because there is no upgrade on the App Store. It's literally
That's why they call it Scrivener free rather than Scrivener, because upgrades on the App Store are free. Yeah. It's a new application as far as you're concerned. So you got to pay.
Well, Andrew, if I can just go on some details there for comparison. I bought Scrivener originally as part of the software bundle, and they've upgraded twice since then. The upgrade cost me
$46 New Zealand to upgrade from version 2.5 to version 3.
Right, but was
That was
that
like-
inflation or was that a discount because you're upgrading?
Well, there was a discount because of the upgrade, but if you buy it from the website, I think it's like 3 years after I bought it. So it was, I bought it initially, and then several years later I upgraded it for a reasonable, not so unreasonable price.
It was probably less than $67 then.
Yeah.
Like 20% off. So.
You know, I don't remember, it was, I got it as part of the software bundle, but given that it costs 67 New Zealand dollars new, and it's about 40 something to upgrade, so it's probably 30% off or something like that. And they only charge upgrade fees for a few years, so it's, I got that one in 2017, nearly a year since version 3 came out.
So there's a slightly different interface in Scrivener Free, but it's still not quite enough to make it worthwhile.
You want your mathematics stuff on it anyway.
I want my mathematics stuff on it anyway, and maybe if I send them a complaining email, look, not happy about this, just put it in for version 4 or before version 4 and I'll upgrade.
So here's a free copy. They should have.
Okay, was there any other questions?
Yeah, how are you going to write all this in the meantime with your little calculators if you can't use Scrivener because it hasn't got the maths that you need?
Well, as I said before, Pages about 3 months ago gained the ability
you're going
to
use Pages for that?
yeah, it gained the maths markup language in the 7.0 upgrade. So that's good.
Table here, and get all the formulas from the table.
Okay, so we'll just delete that and table. So
Basically, it's in a spreadsheet. Okay, it has all the ability, what you said about, to have all the formulas to get out of the numbers. And you can also make a numbers spreadsheet and copy and paste it into pages. So you know.
So why have 2 separate pieces of software then?
So how do you get the formulas in your pages?
And in Pages, you just start typing equals and typing formulas.
Numbers.
Yeah, it's just a number spreadsheet. It might have some limitations, but I
I mean,
think
on the right hand side, you can see there's all in there.
You could roll it all into one application.
well, they do. Effectively, they are one application. It's just that they are structured so that you normally use the one that's controlling the outer form of the document. If you're mostly working with numbers, you use numbers. If you're mostly working with text, you use pages or images.
Right.
But you can actually use any of them to do most of the functionality, except I think that the numbers you can't do processing.
So on the right hand side there, you've got all the different formulas you can use. So if you just pick one of those cells there, you can just.
If you want a database,
So on the right hand side, now you've got choices of all the zines and everything, dates and time, there's all sorts of stuff in there.
which is slightly more useful than the old version of numbers.
Yeah, as I say, they've got the new bits in there that you've been talking about, is it? Open all the formulas in there.
Yeah, so it looks to be everything except for the same templates as numbers. Because the only thing I usually use numbers for is just for invoices.
This can do all sorts of other stuff as well.
Andrew, about formatting, does it replace things like EndNote and can you choose a format for your references and have them all snap into place, or
I
do you
don't
have to-
think it's got built-in support, but there is a third-party plugin you can get.
Oh,
From
okay.
memory, I don't know the details off the top of my head, but there's something that you can do.
You can also set one of those tables up so that you don't have any background colours or any lines, so it just looks like you typed it in.
So you can just go tables.
Yes, EndNote has a plugin for Pages.
You just click on the whole thing.
Oh, but not for Scrivener. Not for Scrivener.
Sorry?
But not for Scrivener.
Well, Scrivener, it's not quite the right concept, I don't think.
In that Scrivener, you can put whatever references you like anywhere and use
We
it
just
as
drag
a
over the whole thing, you should be able to file and do it.
I don't know offhand if you can do the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just get it underneath it and drag it out. Go right up, down the page, down the page bit, down. And go down.
Yeah,
Go down through it
yeah,
and just drag out, click and drag out. Okay, that's the whole other tip, right? Now you can start changing the colours.
oh, okay, yeah, layout.
You can change the lines and...
What are we doing?
Yeah, formatting, so,
No, it might be in there, no, I didn't understand, other colours, these colours, these. Oh, it's the text,
more. No.
should be a way of changing the lines and the...
Oh, wait, no, that's
That's
that's at their table. So you
So
can
there'll
go,
be somewhere in there you can change colours.
hold on a second.
Talking about the colour of the cell.
Well, yes, okay, lines themselves you can get rid of.
He's usually pages.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. So that's basically this one.
You hold up the whole thing. You've got the whole thing.
It's like a draft type thing.
I think he must have
Okay.
and just got them just to show us, so it looks like it's the same.
Yeah.
This one, you can do it in the older version.
Yeah, I just saw that there was a borders thing that you had to actually, you might have to select the table you got rather than the rectangle that's actually click inside it.
That's it.
Table outline, near the bottom you've got, and then you've got grid lines. So you can get rid of, choose that as none, which makes the outside of it. And if you want the internal ones, you click on the grid lines, but show or hide vertical lines, and you can get rid of those as well.
There we go.
You should be able to get rid of all the other colours as
Well,
well.
colours are just controlled by the table style, so you can adjust that.
So you can make it look like it's just been typed in and you don't see it as a table. So it's pretty, you can do all sorts of things with it. It's customisable.
And of course, if you really want to, you can purchase some apps to get hundreds or thousands of templates for pages and numbers and keynotes and
It's swags and swags and swags.
swags of them. And I mean, there's one that I looked at that was $45, and it had just over 1,500 templates, most of them for pages. About it was something like about 1,200 templates just for pages, and it was 2.44 gigabytes, the size of the app.
Apple are very good at doing that, because I know the program I use for video editing, which is Final Cut Pro 10. A lot of people criticise it because it can't do certain things, and I said, Adobe Premiere can do this, and everything else. What Apple's gone and done is said, okay, we're going to make this application so that you have plugins to it. And now there's plugins available for Final Cut Pro from every man and his dog, and I also came out with a plugin called Motion, which you actually make plugins for Final Cut Pro 10 to it. And Adobe Premiere has only got a fractional number of things that Final Cut Pro can do, but you've got to get them from. And there's a whole heap of companies like one called FX Factory, which I've been dealing with, that has some amazing plugins that you can do.
Yeah.
Which Apple hasn't put, but they've made the ability that you can.
Yeah, they've created the market for the developers to extend it, because they know that they're not going to be able to outdo Adobe themselves. So they said, well, let's give it to the third party.
And it's only private pages.
Yeah.
And all these different templates that Apple's not making them, other people are making them. But they're allowed people to do it. And so there's just so much stuff available for Apple products.
Do they get put on the App Store on the whole, or are they all just all over the place and you buy them privately?
A fair percentage are on, you find on the App Store.
That's probably an increasing percentage, because generally speaking, Apple is requiring things to be distributed via their App Store if they're going to plug into standard Apple applications. The mechanism has actually got the security protection scheme that requires authentication through a registered developer going through the right scheme. So sometimes they work distributed elsewhere, but they usually require distribution via the App Store.
So presumably you could do a search for them on the App Store.
Yeah.
See, if they were to do it the other way, say, like, I know you're not the target audience, but that famous game called Fortnite, and that's just come over to Android, and they decided to skip putting it on Google Play because they didn't want to fork out 30% to Google. So what they've done is they've opened up everyone who goes to download Fortnite onto their Samsung phone has got a big security hole in their phone that lets anyone install any program so long as it's called the exact same file name as Fortnite. And it can be malware, it can be anything. As long as it's got the exact same file name as Fortnite, it can be installed into all because they want to save 30%. And they were told not to do this because they knew it would happen, and they ignored it anyway, just because they were greedy. I mean, this is a company which has made $1 billion out in the last year out of a game called Fortnite, and that's exactly what's happened. And yeah. Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people who figure out that because they wanted to get Fortnite and the developers were greedy, they've exposed themselves to viruses and all that. But that's why Apple is making it so you've got to get the plugins through the App Store for Pages or Final Cut.
There's one thing I would like to mention as well, which is totally different from all this, and that is that you notice that every month I come along and I film all these short films. And since September, I think last year, I have been filming every month. And each one of those files is actually up on the YouTube channel, which has now been set up with the WelMac YouTube channel. And David keeps saying he's going to put all those links, which I've given him, so that you can just click on them and it'll load up on YouTube.
Right.
And I'll hassle them. David?
Sorry, what was that?
You hear what I'm saying?
Sorry, I was just testing Brent's trackpad problem.
You're talking about all these videos.
Oh, yeah.
They're all up on our YouTube WelMac channel.
I need to create a page on our website which links them. I just haven't got around to it. So it's basically something resembling the capital
I'll
Apple.
send you the latest update. With all the
Yeah.
new ones.
We've got. You already sent me previous ones. It keeps getting pushed off my to-do list because I've got so many other things to do. I keep forgetting.
Well, I'm just wondering whether we should put it in the capital Apple.
I don't want to publish it that widely. It should be available to members via a private link rather than being too public. So
you send out the note.
yeah, so I'll send out a note to members via email once I've got it created. It's the
Just
idea.
bear in mind, everything's been said tonight, and everything's been said last week and last month and all those. All those, you can go back and you can see what we discussed.
So if it's on the website and it's members only, how will it be accessed?
Well, you've got to have, it's a private link.
Yeah.
You've got to have the URL for it.
Maybe we'll give you the URL.
So you can't search YouTube to find it.
No.
Right? You can actually find it all that.
But WelMac's
but you won't be
website
seeing
is
it
public.
on it, because they're all private links. So without the URL, you won't be able to find them.
I understand that, Graham, but WelMac's website is public.
It's not the WelMac website, it's the WelMac YouTube page. Separate.
Yes, but David said he was going to put it on the website.
Yes, there'll be a page on the website that we provide a link to members, which gets updated every time we get new items once I've created the page.
Right, so how is it a link just to members?
Because we only provide the link to that page to members, it's not linked anywhere on the website. So the only people who know about it, it's like the Capital Apple history, the only people who know about that page are people who are sent the link in the email with the magazine. So I'll modify the text that goes out each month in the Capital Apple to say, here is a video of recent meetings, go to this page to go and access them.
Got it, thank you.
The only way we can do it also is that as long as you know the URL, you can log the file. You don't have to get the link to the WelMac model. You just got to have the URL.
Yes.
And there's nothing to stop members sending that URL to somebody else. We can't set it up. If we try to set it up so it's going to be good with the people that come to the hassle. So it's sort of, can't be searched for unless you know the URL, but you can pass that URL.
It might encourage them to join.
Well, because there are other music groups that are smaller than what we are, because I think we're still the biggest music group in the country. And there's a music group out in Palmerston, for example, who I've been in contact with just recently. and everybody got their commission as their members. And I think we could possibly look, and I've always talked to David briefly about this, because David actually works with the user group, brother.
Yes.
Whether we should be looking at helping other user groups to sort of stay in business, because if you've only got 3 or 4 people turn up to meetings, it's very hard to have a high profile, like the librarian that came here to come on to a meeting. They won't want to come and talk to 3 people.
No, fine.
So that we may be able to assist, because what's been happening over the years is user groups have tended to get smaller and smaller, and then quite a lot of them actually gone out of business. We're still going, but you can see the number of people that come into a meeting. When I first joined the group, and David will remember as well, we met at St Mary's College just up the road, and it was almost back to whole chicken jump where it
And
was.
we met in the staff room at the beginning of the meeting, and the room was so packed, people were out in the corridor and couldn't get into the staff
You
room.
didn't get there really, you didn't get a seat.
We had more than 100 people turning up to each meeting, and we had nearly had 400 members at our peak.
And then we used to have an Apple II group, and the comment was that they met on the phone box.
No, that was the Apple II GS group, the meeting in the phone box, yes. And because there were only about 16 of us.
But that was back in the good old days. We used to meet in the big theatre that they had up there, which was great.
Even my old club's diminishing as well, my Hawke's Bay Club. There's only like 2 or 3 current members that keep going all the time. It's so small now.
That's almost a time.
Senior net's getting smaller too.
Yeah, I'm member 5 as well.
Because we all know what to do for a
And
change.
we had the perfect place to meet. We used to meet at Taradale EIT, and they had Macs. We could actually use them.
Moved up to New York.
They had iMacs all set up there for the students.
Okay, I think we're probably finished. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.